Inside the Fox 59 CBS 4 podcast studio, welcome to the Colts Blue Zone podcast. I'm Dave Griffiths. Glad to have you here. Joining me, as always, Matt Adams, Mike Chappell. We're coming off the bye week, rested, refreshed, ready to go, aren't we, Chap?
Ready to go.
Maybe just the third.
You always need an extra week after a bye week to kind of get back in the swing of things.
Mm-hmm. It's like that day or two after vacation. You're like, I need a vacation for my vacation.
I am so good at doing nothing, and then I need some time to recoup from doing nothing. Mm-hmm. So we're ready to go, though.
Well, plenty to do this week as the Colts get set to travel to Arrowhead Stadium to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Historically, one of the toughest places to play in the NFL. Historically, one of the toughest teams in the NFL over the past couple years. They have been very un-Chiefs-like in several ways, which I'm sure we will get into over the coming minutes, over the coming time. Yeah, for sure. But we will kind of set the scene for you beforehand. The Colts are still on top of the AFC South coming off their bye week. They are 8-2 with a 2-game lead over the Jacksonville Jaguars, who got themselves a fine win this past week. Houston Texans at 5-5, still kind of hanging in there. And the Tennessee Titans, well, they're 1-9. We don't need to worry about them because the Colts have already beaten them twice.
Hanging,
yeah, they're just hanging, not hanging in there. But you still got to look at the Jaguars there in that division. But in the AFC as a whole, you'll notice a little bit of movement because the Colts were on a bye. And the two teams they were tied with there both won their games, the Patriots and the Broncos, so they move up to 9-2 on the season. And so the Colts technically in third right now in the AFC, but that's something that can obviously change by the week when they start playing, when the other teams have their byes. Nevertheless, the top of the AFC is starting to take shape, Chap. And with the Broncos' win over the Chiefs last week, Denver has turned into a behemoth team. They've lost to the Colts, then they haven't lost since. And they've been beating teams strong. They've been beating teams like the Chiefs close. Denver's looking really good right now. The Patriots look real good, and their schedule is not super difficult down the way. So kind of as we talked about last week, which was a good meat and potatoes of our show, the Colts are going to have a tough a tough challenge at hand if they want to get that number one seed. And the path to the AFC South, which we just saw a little bit earlier too, will obviously go through the Jaguars and Texans down the stretch.
Yeah, because I think the Colts have got the fourth toughest schedule to finish with.
Yep.
It's like 545 or something like that winning percentage.
Ain't going to be easy.
Right. But the worst team is 5-5. And, you know, when you got Seattle, when you got Frisco, and then two Houstons and two Jaguars, and we know that you can count one loss with the Jaguar loss.
That's just how it is.
Until you prove otherwise, folks. So it's really interesting. We were talking in the press room, is 12-5 seems like a realistic finish. I kind of think 11-6 because I kind of anticipate sweeping or splitting with Houston, splitting with Jacksonville. Well, I think you can sweep Houston. I do. I think their offense is really in trouble.
Yeah,
and they play tonight with Buffalo, at home with Buffalo, so that could really knock them back another notch. So yeah, it's. But we talked about it. They're in position now. They've got to take advantage of it, and it starts with probably the most difficult place to play in the NFL.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one this weekend. The Colts have played the Chiefs well, which we will also get into that.
Strange.
But yeah, I guess strangely
one of those weird quirks, isn't it?
Yeah. The teams just have trouble with one team or another team that, I mean, Colts fans can recognize that because, as you've already mentioned, the one game in Jacksonville, you know that there's just some teams you have trouble with for whatever reason.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that too. So yeah, it's not exactly a foreign concept to Colts fans.
It's funny, look, because Mahomes has never beat these guys regular season.
Right.
Andy Reid is 3-7 against the Colts.
That's weird.
That's
a
crazy.
Weird stat. Yeah.
But no, I don't know. I don't know what you attribute that to. Probably nothing.
Right.
But this team should not be in awe of going into Arrowhead. Although how many of these players have played there? JT hasn't. So it'll be interesting to see how they. But I think after 10 minutes of looking around and saying it's a pretty cool place.
Yeah.
Then you block it out and you play.
I think so. It's a great stadium. I've been there, and it's a fun place to be.
It's a college stadium.
A little bit more of an atmosphere like that,
right.
But it's not quite like I've been to some great college stadiums too. Like the 12th man at Texas A&M was incredible.
Ohio State's
I spent
pretty
a lot
awesome.
at Doak Campbell Stadium at Florida State. Very similar to Arrowhead when they got the chop going. It's a really cool atmosphere. So that'll be something to at least watch out for this week. And the Colts are getting healthier coming out of their bye, which is certainly encouraging. Samson Ebukam is limited in practice on Wednesday, who's been out since week 7. He did not go on injured reserve because the Colts were hopeful they can get him back before the 4-game threshold there. And he's the reserve anyway, so you throw him out there for 20, 30% of the snaps.
Right.
And or even less than that if he's healthy enough.
Good plays in pass situations.
And so that's a reason not to put him on injured reserve and take up that spot. So encouraging to see him back in practice. Tyquan Lewis did not practice on Wednesday, who was also injured in week 7. So I think he's got a groin, and Ebukam was a knee, is what it was. Mooney Ward had a concussion pregame in week 6 against the Cardinals in that freak incident with Drew Ogletree. He did practice as well. So his in full. He was on injured reserve from that concussion because that was kind of a slightly serious injury there that he had to go through. Because I think it was also his second concussion of the early season.
You kind of forget he had one in the opener against Miami, and he misses week 2.
Right. So the Colts have not seen all of Charvarius Mooney Ward that they would have liked to see this year. But hopefully the hope is that he's now healthier, readier to go. And he still has to clear concussion protocol, even though his practice window has been activated from injured reserve. So the hope is he'll be able to clear concussion protocol, and after 4 weeks, you would certainly expect that to be the case. And hopefully we'll be able to talk to him on Friday or something like that before the game. And that would be our hope as well.
Yeah, because you never know how teams handle injuries, but especially concussions.
Yeah.
But he made the trip to Berlin. I just don't know that you put someone on a plane for 8 to 10 hours if he's having concussion symptoms.
Right.
So that's all. And you kind of read things into situations. I think he just noticed that he's practicing again today. Tyquan Lewis is practicing today, which is good.
That's good.
So, again, for going into your 11th game, they're really in pretty good shape injury-wise.
Jalen Carlisle is also coming off injured reserve for his practice window. But believe it or not, from my perspective, I mean, Jalen Carlisle is a complete wild card. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't count on anything from him. Anything that he can add is a bonus to you right now. So very much in the Jelani Woods fashion of, well, whatever. If you get something, cool.
Right.
But if you don't get anything, then, well, whatever. You move on without him right now. But kind of more focusing on Ward and his return. Putting him out there with Sauce Gardner will give the Colts one of the best cornerback tandems in the NFL. And then, of course, you throw Kenny Moore in there, and it's one of the best cornerback trios in the NFL. But with Ward on one side and Gardner on the other, quarterbacks are going to have to throw somewhere. Right. And they tend to try to stay away from number one corners. They scheme. Offenses do that. Coaches do that just to not risk it,
There's always risk. Don't, increase your risk.
Don't do it too much.
Right.
Yeah. So if you need to risk somewhere, you go with the spot where there's less risk. Well, they're going to have to throw it one way or the other, obviously. So I think both of them will see balls thrown their way. And it'll be interesting to see if one is picked on more than the other. It'll be interesting to see if they put one corner on one receiver if they feel like the matchups warrant it for whatever reason about the strengths of one guy versus another.
That's what you did. You were going to put Mooney Ward on that guy.
Right.
And we saw that a little bit in Berlin with Sauce Gardner was on Drake London a few times.
Right.
But now, unless, again, you think one of them matches up better with the guy, you leave them on their sides and say, for the offense, do what you want to do.
Go to town and see what happens. So I think to have both of those guys will be an interesting dynamic for this defense. Ward got $60 million from the Colts this offseason, so you don't pay a guy that much unless you expect him to go out and cover number one receivers. You traded away 2 first-round picks and A.D. Mitchell for Gardner, who you don't give up that much unless you expect a guy to go out and be able to cover number one receivers. So all those guys also allows, I think, Lou Anarumo to play strict man on the outside. And Cam Bynum, Nick Cross, linebackers. It opens up the possibility for you to get more creative when you trust your back end more, that they can cover 3-4 seconds. Because that's all you ask for when there's a blitz, at most,
Right.
Like you hope to get there within 2. So I think that this gives us the opportunity to see some unique things from Lou Anarumo, and no better time to do that than when you're facing one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Well, and we've talked too about how the defensive front, the pressure. Boy, if they just had that other half second. Well, now they're going to have that. So now it's on the D line, and it's too bad they're missing DeForest Buckner. But now it's up for Kwity Paye and Latu to complete plays, because you should have that extra time. Also, what it's going to allow Anarumo to do is his fourth and fifth corners are Blackman and Jalen Jones, which maybe is where they needed to be in the pecking order anyway, maybe 3 and 4 instead of 4 and 5. And with all the matchups, what you wonder about is who covers Travis Kelce.
Right.
Is it Kenny Moore, who gives away tons of size? Is it Jalen Jones?
He's a big dude, a strong dude, tough dude.
This could be a game where you play, do my math, 4-1-6 defense, where you got one linebacker and you got 6 DBs, and like 4 or 5, maybe 5 of them are corners because of the way Kansas City plays. So it's really cool, but that's the flexibility. Mooney Ward already gave him that, and now Sauce Gardner just gives him that much more to allow him to kind of the mad scientist stuff. And he's had success against Cincinnati, against Kansas City when he was in Cincinnati. Sort of. I mean, the Chiefs still scored points. They were still scoring 25, 30 points. But when the time came to make plays in that one AFC Championship game, and when did the Cincy go to the Super Bowl in 21, I think it was.
Yeah.
And they beat the Chiefs, I believe, in overtime. So, but you can never have enough quality cover people, especially with Kansas City, where they got 4 or 5 guys who can catch the ball and hurt you.
Yeah, and they've done most of their damage through the air. Like, they've had some running games over the past, 5-6 years when they've been on top of the league that have been impressive. Isaiah Pacheco's dealt with some injuries this year. They re-signed Kareem Hunt, who was with them ages ago. I think they re-signed him even last year, if I'm not mistaken, and so he's been there for a little bit, and he's been playing this year in the absence of Pacheco. And they do their running game with the short passing game, basically. They scheme it up that way. And Andy Reid has always done this, back from his time in Philadelphia, when they had Brian Westbrook as the running back, or the early days of Shady McCoy, LaShawn McCoy. They always wanted to be very active in the passing game, short passes, screen passes, and they do it with Rashee Rice.
Right.
They do it with Travis Kelce. Like the Eagles did it with Chad Lewis, and then did it with what's his name, Zach Ertz. So it's a similar offense that I grew up watching, obviously growing up outside of Philadelphia, and it's one that has been very effective in the NFL for a very long time. And so when you have cornerbacks that can play sticky coverage, that absolutely helps. I'll be very interested to see, Chap, like you mentioned, if they do run more of a dime defense with 6 defensive backs and Jalen Jones is out there on Travis Kelce, and then say, well, if you want to run it against us, we'll try.
Right.
And then we'll readjust if your run game is doing too much damage against us. But, if you're trying to say this person beat us, we don't let this person beat us.
Right.
I would say don't let Mahomes beat you. Try at least if you can put your players up to that task and say, well, if it's going to be Kareem Hunt and Pacheco, then dadgummit.
You got us.
Yeah.
And the one thing you mentioned, and I think with these corners, what they will do is more man-to-man. And the problem that can create, is when the corners and everybody's turning and running with receivers, Mahomes sees that, and he sees 15, 20 yards that he can run.
Right.
So it is a chess game, but you have to kind of figure out how you want to do it. And easier said than done is don't let Mahomes on 3rd and 7. You have the play covered, and he scoots for 15 yards because he will.
Yep. And he's done that very much,
Right.
very often in the past, and he's been very good at it. So, I'll be interested to see what exactly is dialed up on the defensive side of the ball this weekend. A couple practice squad moves from the Colts as they return from their bye week. They signed defensive end Viliami Fehoko Jr.
Good for you.
Wide receiver Eli Pankel. Thank you. Pendleton Heights Pride. Duke as well. Duke product. 2025 Colts Pro Day attendee. Interesting addition there. Defensive end Chris Wormley, as well as All-Pro
Special teamer
safety George Odom, who had a great couple years for the
he
Colts
was-
on special teams.
I don't know if he started that trend, but of a guy that for 4 years was pretty good.
Yeah.
But he was a core special teams player. And I had to check it because I was sure I was right. When I saw the move, I'm thinking, the last time they won in Arrowhead, he started at safety. I think Clayton Gathers was hurt or someone.
Right.
Remember Shaq Leonard didn't play that game, and I don't think JT played that game. So this is a guy, because he went from here to Frisco.
Yeah.
And every team needs a couple of these guys, whether it's Ashton Doolin or Zach Pascal prior to that. He's had like 10 years, is it?
Yeah.
He's had a pretty good career.
Yeah, that was back in 2018 when they won.
Right.
So yeah, JT was still at Wisconsin
that's
at
true,
that
that's
point,
true.
So that was the Komoko Toure game
Right.
where he had a couple of really
Yeah,
good
Justin
plays in the
Houston-
backfield.
Justin
And Justin
Houston
Houston, yes, as well. And Justin Houston gave the best interview of his life after that game when he actually really let us know how much that game meant to
Right.
him. Unlike earlier in the week when we talked to him at his locker and was like, "Hey, you're going back to play your old team." He's like,
And then this one,
and then post game, he's like, "Yeah, that mattered."
because he had a sack, and then he had a tackle for a loss at the end.
Yep.
To shut the door on him.
Really big plays that led to that win for the Colts, and one of his best games that he
Right.
played here for a long time. They also released a bunch of players that we don't need to go down. They're players that you've never heard of before. So there's just some roster mechanics going into this week. So it's interesting that they have a couple of like big former contributors to the team, George Odom and Anthony Walker Jr. on the
started
practice
that game
squad.
too.
He did, yes. Who's still on the Colts practice
Right.
squad now, but just an interesting thing to me that those guys are still there and the dynamics of that. But whatever. JT still leads the NFL in rushing despite the week off this week. 1,139 yards. No one else has topped 1,000 yet. James Cook of the Bills, the closest at 968 yards. He still has 15 rushing touchdowns, which leads the NFL. Josh Jacobs of the Packers is second with 11.
I looked on rushing touchdowns. I think it included last week's games. He has more rushing touchdowns than every team but Buffalo.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
Not too shabby. He's been doing a lot of the scoring. So Daniel Jones' touchdown numbers aren't as high as you would expect from an offense that's up there leading the NFL in points per game. But that's because Jonathan Taylor.
You got a guy with
exactly.
15 rushing touchdowns.
And he's finishing them from 60 yards out sometimes.
It hurts their red zone.
Yeah, exactly.
Production.
You're like, gosh, give the quarterback some love. No, not really. But when the quarterback does get some love, Tyler Warren has been a big part of that. Warren has had an impact everywhere. And Colts.com did kind of a breakdown the other week about kind of the snaps per position that Warren has had. As an inline tight end, he's taken 274 snaps. As a slot tight end, he's taken 161 snaps. Split out wide, he's taken 60 snaps, 45 at fullback, 3 at halfback, and 2 at quarterback. So he's been all over the place. There has been no apparent learning curve still for the young man. The only question now becomes, like we saw right away, he was thrown right in. The only question now is there a rookie wall late in the season? Because he's about to get to the point where he's playing more games than he ever has before in a football season. So then you ask yourself, come week 14, 15, 16.
When your body says, we're done, aren't
Exactly. Does he start to slow down or at least not be as effective in some way?
Don't we get a break for the CFP?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, right? Penn State's not in the CFP.
No,
certainly
not this year.
But to his credit, Chap, I'll say he's done nothing to indicate that any sort of wall would be coming because he has answered every bell, he has taken every challenge, and he has given the Colts everything they could have asked for from a first-round pick this year.
He's probably exceeded expectations, right?
I would think so.
And they were already.
Pretty high.
But he's already he's had the most catches by a rookie tight end, Colts. In Colts, he broke Dwayne Allen's record was 42, I think, and he's got 50. And he's within 100 and some of the yards record of, I think, John Mackey. I think it is. So
John Mackey from
I'm not going there.
Syracuse University.
Yeah, I'm not going there. you kind of, we need a little bell whenever there's a Syracuse. But no, it's incredible. And he's also the only receiver, I think, on pace for 1,000 yards. So it's like 1,050 or whatever. But, and I tell you, I'm still waiting. Talk about expectations. I'm still waiting for that game that he has.
Right.
8 catches for 170. Because I was breaking down something I'm doing on Alec Pierce for later today. And I think Pierce has 10 catches of at least 20 yards.
Yep.
Leads the team. He has 9. He has 9 catches of at least 20 yards.
ESPN has them both at 10.
I'll go back and check. I'll go back and check that. But that's just in a couple of big plays against the Falcons.
See, the Falcons was almost that game.
Right.
In some respects, because he had that 4th down catch, and then he had the big, I think it was a 23-yarder.
24-yarder, right.
And that was huge. Like
it was all JT except for
exactly.
the deep slant.
Yep.
Right. So he's done everything. And as we've mentioned, he was there because Chicago went in another direction. So sometimes you get lucky.
Yep.
Sometimes you just get lucky. But it's just amazing. The 45 snaps at fullback surprised me. That's a bit high. But from that spot, and one thing that people need to appreciate about Warren, the stats are off the charts. Watch him block. He's doing the Jack Doyle stuff in line, and he's knocking people down. And a lot of times when Taylor went off in the past with Jack Doyle with that wham block, Tyler Warren's doing a lot of that as well as a rookie.
Yeah, and what are the expectations for him next year? We'll get to that. Yeah, like to take it even to the next step. But
it's impressive to me. I mean, talk a lot of advanced metrics. We won't get into it, but EPA, which is expected points added per play, the higher the number that is there,
right,
the better it is.
Right.
And when he's an inline tight end and when he's a fullback, like, those are exceptionally high for the Colts and EPA.
Yeah. So Tyler Warren, everything you want, and to be able to deliver so many big plays too, like you mentioned, whether it's 10 or 9, whatever it is, 20 plus
it's
yards.
Still a notable. ESPN.com. Everybody's breakdown is probably different.
Yeah.
That's what I have on ESPN.com.
But now I can double check before I post
There's
it.
probably one that's 19 or 20 that the stat was
there
like,
might be exactly.
evaluated differently in one way. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, we'll see what he does down the stretch. Colts fans would say, hopefully it's more of the same. We're
going to see what a tight end, and we've seen what a tight end can do for an offense.
We have
with Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Now, different players, I think, but when they kept telling us in last offseason and the years prior to what was missing with attacking the middle of the field and all that, that's what this kid does.
Yep. So you look over on the other side of the ball to see exactly what a great tight end can do for an offense.
Are they
going
to see George Kittle later?
Yep.
So,
we'll see all of them. And by the way, like, before we really get into this week, Kittle, you mentioned him, but like the 49ers, another team that's on the Colts schedule later this year. I know we haven't talked about them much. We've mentioned others like Seattle and the Houston, the Jacksonville game, but the 49ers looked darn good with Brock Purdy back in the lineup last week, man. Like,
people kept saying, well, Mac Jones, really? No, really.
Like, no. Like, Mac Jones is fine. Like, he is fine. But Brock Purdy, there's a reason he got paid buku bucks a couple years ago.
One of my friends on the digital team here at Fox 9 CBS4 is from Texas, so he's a Texans fan. Right. And obviously the Texans have won their last couple of games with Davis Mills. If they were to beat the Bills tonight, he would have as many wins at starting quarterback as C.J. Stroud. And I've just been jabbing him a little bit about, you got a quarterback controversy here in Houston. C.J. Stroud hadn't been able to get it done, but Davis Mills he's just like, shut up. Right. There is no quarterback controversy. You're insane.
And Stroud is missing tonight.
Right. They're hold him out, and then the expectation is that he'll start against the Colts.
But they're not really
week.
holding him out.
Well, that's true.
He's not cleared concussion protocol.
He's not cleared protocol, and it's a short week, which didn't help either.
Yeah. They I don't know if you guys remember, but I will because it's a Philadelphia related stat. But back in the day, like when Donovan McNabb was the quarterback there, he was definitely obviously the quarterback. But there were times he got injured, and then there were 2 quarterbacks that came in that played really well in Andy Reid's offense, and then they took that into getting like signed by another team and to be a starting quarterback, and it did not work out well for them. And these are names that I'm going to bring out of the hat, see if you remember either of them, and see where they went. A.J. Feely, do you remember that name?
Went to Miami.
He went to Miami. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
I think Philly traded him, and they got like a good return. Exactly, and then he was nothing in Miami. And the other one is Kevin Cobb.
Oh goodness,
Kevin
there's
Cobb.
a name I've not heard in a long time. Again,
went to the Cardinals, I think, to be their
yep.
starter, and then did too much.
Did not work.
But those went. That speaks to the talent of Andy Reid as someone who can coach quarterbacks and can have a backup ready to go, and have an offense that is amenable to quarterback success, because he asked them to know what they're doing and to be and if they can add something to the offense like McNabb did with his legs, and like Patrick Mahomes does with both his legs and his insane arm and
his
no-look passes
and the arm angles.
Like, if you're smart enough to be an Andy Reid quarterback, then you can have success in that system.
Well, look what they did with Alex Smith.
Exactly.
Which I think Alex Smith is a really good quarterback, but not a great one.
Nope.
I would sort of compare Daniel Jones to Alex Smith, which is just fine. I was talking to Reggie Wayne today, just shooting the bull, and Alex Smith type quarterbacks are fine with Daniel Jones as long as you have the right people around them. They're not going to carry your franchise. Daniel Jones is not going to carry this franchise, but you've got a great receiver core. I think a great receiver core, maybe not a great receiver, but a great receiving core. You got a great tight end, and you've got an alien at running back. So, and the offensive line has been playing well. I wish we had a better idea. From watching tape, it's hard to see on why they've had problems the last two games, protection-wise. But it's just something that's got to get fixed.
Yep, and that is something that we'll focus on, I guess, as this second half of the season begins here. You're watching the Colts Blue Zone podcast on Fox 59 now, and it is the Colts offensive line / protection that has struggled the most over the past couple weeks. After a stellar first 8 games really of the year, the last 2, they have given up 12 sacks, I believe it is.
Yes.
Over
9
2 games.
and then 12.
Not a number that is conducive to success in the NFL. The Colts managed 1 win in those 2 games, but the other one was in Pittsburgh, a disaster
They still
for the
somehow
offense.
ended up being
made
a
it
one-score
close,
game.
exactly. And then that goes back to say, like, they had 6 turnovers in that game. Well, if they had 5, then maybe we're going to overtime. If they only had 4, then they win the dang game. But Daniel Jones has been sacked and found himself on his backside way too much over the past couple weeks.
And to compound that are the fumbles.
Yep.
That really makes them worse.
One leads to the other when it comes to quarterbacks.
Going into last week, he led the league with eight fumbles, not lost fumbles, but fumbles.
Just fumbles, right?
Sacks are really bad. Strip sacks are just awful.
Yeah, and when your turnover differential in 2 weeks goes from +8 to +2, like, that's a major swing.
Yes.
And the defense could help by getting some takeaways themselves. And I remember a couple years ago, I think it was 2022, when the offense was just dreadful.
Abysmal.
I mean, the defense at the end of the year wasn't great either.
They got worn down.
Exactly. But I remember, like, week after week talking to the defense and almost apologizing, being like, I know it's a hard ask, but can't you guys, you have to step up. You have to get the ball back. You have to and that's what complimentary football is. When the offense is struggling, the defense can pick them up. When the defense is struggling, the offense tries to pick them up. And, like, it's hard to say, well, for this Colts team back in 2022, for this Colts team to win, the defense needs to basically get a turnover or a 4th down stop. The special teams Rigo needs to pin him inside the 20 every time, because the offense just isn't cutting it. And you don't want to get to that point.
Right.
And those were kind of the questions that were asked after Pittsburgh again. Like, well, defense, could you have stepped up here or there? Like, yeah. And to be fair, like, it's not an unfair ask, because these are professional players and they're asked to do hard things. So, but those aren't things that you can ask over and over again and be sustainable. Just like it's not sustainable to give up 6 sacks a game and turn the ball over 6 times a game. These need to be aberrations, Chap, as the Colts solve these problems, they hope, and then turn their attention toward the end of the season.
And the only way you prove that it is an aberration or it's not going to be a problem going forward is how do you do against Kansas City. And then I think the more important game is Houston the next week. But that's the only way. I talked to, briefly, if it's called talking, to Quentin Nelson yesterday. and God love him. You've got to have the right questions because Quentin just doesn't stand there and BS with you very often.
No, he's not that guy. He doesn't have that bone in his
No,
body.
and I'm trying to get from him, you guys have a standard. The first 8 games, you were up to it. The last 2, you haven't really. Not as an offensive line, but as pass protection. And he wasn't buying it. He said, I don't care what you say. I don't care what you guys say. I thought, okay.
Okay.
But he said, well, we're just going to maintain our process and we'll get it fixed. He made it sound like it's not the offensive line as much as it is things around him, whether it's JT missing a couple of blocks, which he did.
He missed, yeah.
Whether it's Daniel Jones running out of bounds for a 0-yard sack.
Right.
Throw the ball away.
Right.
Because we keep track of sacks. So, but the whole operation hasn't worked. And again, the fumbles are what's really been the problem. It's hard to live with sacks. It's really hard to live with strip sacks.
And it's impossible to live with giving Patrick Mahomes more opportunities to score the football.
And when teams have had success against him, whether it's the Colts, whether it's Anarumo and Cincy or elsewhere, you pressure Mahomes. You just don't pressure him. You get him on the ground.
Right, because Patrick Mahomes against the blitz actually has very good numbers throughout his career. But that's just because he takes advantage of it before the pressure gets there. The pressure needs to get there. You need to put him on his butt. You need to hit him. The Chiefs are 5-5 this year. They're not exactly Chiefs-like. They are 3rd in the AFC West. When's the last time they were 3rd in the AFC West this late in the season?
Pre-Andy Reid.
Yeah, exactly.
The last time they'd lost 3 in a row was 2017.
Never under Patrick Mahomes. He's never lost 3 games in a row.
That's just crazy.
And they've lost the last 2. This is a really tough stretch for the Chiefs, too.
Right.
Like, they played the Bills, they lost, they had their bye. They came back and they lost to the Broncos, which Andy Reid doesn't lose too often coming out of his bye. So there should be red flags up in Kansas City completely. And then they're coming to play, they're hosting the Colts now, a team that they've historically had trouble with. Patrick Mahomes, he's beaten 30 NFL teams in the regular season in his career. The only 2 he hasn't are the Chiefs, of course, and the Colts, even though he does have the one against them that counts the most.
That's still crazy. It's just a crazy stat.
In the playoffs, yes, exactly. Back at the end of the 2018 season, so in January 2019 in the divisional round. But I think the most crazy stat about the Chiefs this year is entering this season. I got this one from Matt Taylor, Colts play-by-play voice on the radio.
One possession.
Exactly. You know exactly where I'm going.
It's a great stat.
17 games in a row entering this year. They had won one-possession games. 17 one-possession games in a row, they had won. 17
That's crazy because the ball bounces, you get a bad call.
And in the NFL, so many games are determined by one possession. Like the lines are 3 and 4. The lines aren't college lines. They're not 14. You don't see that often at all. Like when the Colts had a 10 or 11-point line, we talked about that earlier this year.
Very rare.
Those are incredibly rare games. And so they had won 17 straight. This year,
10-0 last year,
and I think they were 12-0 when you count the playoffs.
Okay.
They were this year 0-5 in one-score games. 0-5. Now some might say that's just the other side of the coin. Exactly, but at some point, elite teams win those games.
Correct.
So to see a team like this go 0-5 again. Red flag should be going up in Kansas City.
Especially if you look at some of their numbers, like they're slightly scoring. Their offense is a little bit better. Some of their defensive statistics are even a little bit better than they were compared to last year. And yet last year they were able to win those games. This year just suddenly
the big thing was they lose this past week with a field goal. Was it a 34-yarder, 44-yarder, whatever it was. As time expired, I think it was.
Yep.
Last year, the exact same scenario, and they blocked the kick.
Right.
That's the difference, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. They made plays, and that's it. It comes down to. Pardon me. I'm sorry. I've got a cough today. You're right. They're not making that extra play, and the stats, like you mentioned, Matt, can paint different pictures than your final results, and the teams that even have average stats and do well in situations and make the big play situationally can win games. And this team isn't making as many of those plays.
And at some point, they will, right? I mean, at some point,
Here's the deal. Like you can predict, you can try to be the first person on the bandwagon to say the Chiefs dynasty is over, man. That's it.
Yeah, I'm not going to be that guy.
Exactly. Just like it was with Tom Brady. I remember one year that the Patriots were like 1-4 or something, and he was struggling mightily.
They get the doors blown off by Buffalo or somebody.
And everyone was on Brady. Like, Brady's done. He's finished. And then he goes off and wins like 2 more Super Bowls. And I think they won the Super Bowl that year, actually, in New England. And then he goes to Tampa and wins another Super Bowl there. So you can, like, if you want to be the first person on the Chiefs bandwagon, the no Chiefs bandwagon, go ahead. God bless you, as Jeff Saturday might say. I'm not going to be that guy. I got to think it's going to happen eventually. Does it happen this week? Maybe. Does it not happen because the Chiefs still struggle against the Colts? Maybe. I saw one stat somewhere that said the Chiefs, if they win this week, have something like a 68% chance of making the playoffs. But if they lose, it drops all the way down to 33%.
Right.
So that's a big 33
they're
point
third
swing.
in the division.
Exactly.
It's not like they got to chase one team. They got to chase 2.
They can't keep losing games and just keep falling behind.
7 more to play. You don't have that much room.
You don't have that many
the
bullets
margin of error
left.
is starting to squeeze.
So you expect the Chiefs to be in the mix at the end of the year. And so games like these are the ones that they would need to win to be in that mix. So
all I know is you're going to go broke, I think, betting against Mahomes, betting against Josh Allen, betting against that guy. Right now, the playoffs, we talked about it, I think, was that Buffalo, Kansas City, and Pittsburgh are not in the playoff picture, right?
Pittsburgh is, because they're on top of the division,
they're ahead of the North.
Yes.
But this is not what people anticipated going into the season.
Right.
So, but we'll see where
the Ravens is the other team.
That's the other team.
Exactly.
So we'll see how we all pick this game. But boy, to pick against Mahomes at Arrowhead when he's never lost 3 games in a row, it's tough.
You're like I said, it's God bless you if that's what you think is going to happen. They're like, and that's what makes football so interesting, and that's what makes I think what's going to happen on Sunday very interesting. It'll be a fun game. I hope because I'm going to have to watch it, all of it. Mahomes this year is completing 64.5% of his passes, which is down a little bit. 2,600 yards, 18 touchdowns, 6 picks, sacked 20 times. He's the 3rd leading rusher on the team, behind Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, who combined, they both have like 320-plus yards. Hunt has 6 touchdowns. He was even doing a lot of the short yardage when Pacheco was healthy. Travis Kelce with 50 catches, very Tyler Warren-like of him, for 631 yards and 4 touchdowns. Has 8 catches of 20-plus yards. So similar numbers to the Colts tight end, if not just a little bit less. But there are other targets outside. Hollywood Brown has 4 touchdowns. Tyquan Thompson, Xavier Worthy, who's the speedster that they drafted last year. Rashee Rice had been hurt near the start of the year, came in and had like a 3-touchdown game. Didn't he, Matt? And then
had a 2-touchdown game in his first game, then a touchdown the next game.
Okay. So but he immediately
just made an immediate impact when he came back.
Exactly, and Juju Smith-Schuster as well. So it's a cavalcade of guys that they throw to, as it has been for a long time. Even if there is one guy in Travis Kelce that's kind of the engine that makes it move, and one guy in Rashee Rice who's more the most dynamic playmaker, I guess, on the outside, which years ago, of course, was Tyreek Hill.
But I think they've got 5 guys that have at least 25 catches.
Right.
You know,
8 guys with a touchdown.
Around.
Right.
So it's good to have more cornerbacks, is what you're saying, which is what we talked about earlier.
That's what I say. Matchup-wise, this is a good game for the Colts, matchup-wise.
Mm-hmm. Leading tacklers, Nick Bolton at linebacker has 81 stops. Safety Chamari Connor has 76. Sack leaders, Purdue's own George Karlaftis with 5. Chris Jones has 3 in the middle. Chris Jones, not exactly the numbers that he's had in the past. Again, it's the type of guy that you say, I'm not going to be the first person on the bandwagon to say he's on the end of his career, because I think any week Chris Jones could step up as long as he keeps his tongue in check and doesn't say naughty words near the end of the game that cause one team to be able to have an extra possession and drive down for the game-winning score. I'm not gonna. I still think he can have a dominant game because he's Chris Jones, and Karlaftis has been what they wanted him to be after being a first-round pick. Yeah, exactly. Can get after the quarterback and sack the quarterback. Just an Energizer bunny of effort, Karlaftis. Every play, is really intense.
He will
and
test
fun
the
to watch
edges,
in that way. Yes,
which need to be shored up.
buttoned up.
Yes.
Exactly. So
Quarterbacks. I mean,
yep.
Really, the quarterback hates what Jones can do, and that's disrupting the middle.
Right.
Because quarterbacks love to step up to avoid the outside pressure.
Yeah, I think if you surveyed quarterbacks and you said, who do you least want, like what do you least want?
Right.
And that's what Tom Brady said always,
Right.
is the pressure in your face was always worse than pressure
Right.
from the edge. So you don't want that. At all. Points per game this year, the Chiefs are 9th in the NFL, 25.4 points per game. The Colts still maintain their first overall spot with 32.1 points per game. Points allowed, the Chiefs' defense has been really good this year. They're 4th in the league in points allowed, only 18.1 points given up. And the Colts are 9th in the league, still top 10 at 20.6 points per game. Point differential, the Chiefs at plus 73, the Colts at plus 115. There's a really interesting stat that the Chiefs at plus 73, like their point differential this year is bigger than their point differential all of last year when they were, 12-5 or 13-4, whatever the stupid numbers are now with the 17-game schedule. But I think they were like plus 50 or something last year, because they had so many of those dang one-score games that we mentioned that they just won all of them. But anyway, they're plus 73 because they're blowing teams out when they win their 5 games, and then when they lose, they're losing by a field goal like they did last week against Denver. But total offense, the Chiefs are 7th in the league in yards gained, 364 per game. Colts are 1st in the league. I think that number might be 396.
It is.
0.9 yards.
Yep.
Yes, exactly. Good. Passing yards, Chiefs are 5th in the league, 248.9 per game. Colts are 3rd, 251.6. Rushing yards, Chiefs middle of the pack at 115. Colts are 3rd, of course, with Jonathan Taylor at 145 yards per game, leading the way there. Total defense, Chiefs 7th and Colts 19th. With all those numbers, yeah, you would expect, Matt, better than a 5-5 team. But again, it's more than just yards gained.
Situational. Sometimes you just don't pull it off, when you need to.
Yep. Let's see. Defense. Passing defense, Chiefs are 11th. Colts are 25th. Rushing defense, Chiefs are up there in 9th, allowing 4.2 yards per rush. Colts are 5th, still allowing 4.1 yards per rush. Turnovers, Chiefs are plus 3 on the year with 9 forced and 6 surrendered. That means there's not a lot of crazy action there. It's just
with
line
the
up
quarterback
and,
doing crazy things.
exactly. Yeah. So that's a telltale sign of an offense that takes care of the ball.
Yep.
And a defense that is probably not trying to do too much because
They don't
need
It's
to.
not
Yeah,
required,
exactly.
right?
As aggressive as Steve Spagnuolo can be as the defensive coordinator, and as we've seen in the past, he definitely picks and chooses his spots when he is going to be. And maybe he has to do that more now down the stretch if they're trying to get some more wins, if they're a little bit more in desperate mode.
You've got to find a way to swing the pendulum the other way, right?
So it just hasn't gotten to that point, it feels like, yet for them. Maybe this is the week that they turn it up. But the Colts are plus 2 on the year, 14 forced turnovers, 12 surrendered. And of course, as we mentioned, that number skewed greatly by the Pittsburgh game where the Colts gave up 6 turnovers themselves. Let's get into the injury report for this week. The Chiefs had 9 players on their Wednesday injury report. Guard Kingsley Suamataia.
I'm sorry, I should have
That's
looked
okay.
up the
No, it's
pronunciation
okay.
there.
It's like I've said many times.
You do say that, yes.
The Polynesian guys, you just pronounce every letter. He has a concussion. Xavier Worthy also did not practice, wide receiver with an ankle. Full participants in practice. Jeffrey Bassa with a shoulder. Their linebacker, safety Jaden Hicks, a shoulder. Defensive end George Karlaftis, a thumb injury. Defensive end Charles Omenihu. Running back Isaiah Pacheco. Guard Trey Smith. Tackle Juwan Taylor. So a lot of guys full participant, even though they show up on the list. Colts on Wednesday had 6 players did not participate. Taquan Lewis with his groin, although, Chap, you mentioned earlier, he's practicing on
today.
Thursday, yes, as we record this.
Take that for what it's
Say that
worth.
is Taquan Lewis, like you said, Dave, not Taquan Louis.
Taquan Louis, no, not
As,
on this sheet
on the
here.
rundown.
The great Matt Adams putting together our rundown every week. Kenny Moore had a rest day on Wednesday. Samson Ebicom limited with a knee injury. Full practice, Jalen Carlisle with his ankle on IR designated to return, same as Mooney Ward with his concussion, and Anthony Gould, a full participant in practice with his knee injury. You look up and down that list, and there's nothing that's overly concerning, I would say. With Kenny Moore's rest day, that's not unexpected. I find it weird still that you come back from stinking, what's it called? Your bye week, and somebody needs a rest day on Wednesday to practice.
they're in a routine, and I can remember when the Colts signed all those older players. It was that in 2015. Second day of training camp, they're giving guys veteran days off. Andre Johnson and Frank Gore and all that. I'm like, really?
Yep. Apparently they are. So that is something that we don't fully understand.
Right.
And but there's a reason for it. So you know what? God bless you. Again, as Jeff Saturday would say. The Colts take on the Chiefs at 1 o'clock inside Arrowhead Stadium Sunday afternoon on CBS 4. From what I saw earlier in the week, the Chiefs were 3.5-point favorites. I didn't look up exactly what the over-under would be. I'd imagine it's probably somewhere in the mid or to high 40s, since both of these teams have been high scoring. Let me look that up real quick. Chiefs line, all the betting information that we need. Total set to 50.5 indeed. Ooh. So it's a high number that Vegas is expecting for this game, somewhere along the lines of a 27-24 ball game. Right in that range is what they say. Colts Blue Zone also, if you're in central Indiana, our pregame show airs at 11:30 on Sunday morning, broadcast on CBS 4. I believe it's our Chris Hagan who's supposed to be on the road for that game, and myself, Chris Widlick, in studio, getting you set up before the NFL Today on CBS, which will lead right into the Colts and Chiefs at 1 o'clock from Arrowhead Stadium. Let's give our predictions and any final thoughts about the game. I'll go first, and then we'll go to Chap. We'll go to Matt after that. For the Colts and the Chiefs, I kind of hinted at it earlier. I'm not going to be the first person to jump on the Chiefs and say that they're done. And I think if they lose this week, they're in a good amount of trouble. They've got to stop the bleeding somehow. You'd expect them to stop the bleeding somehow. Honestly, I thought it was coming last week against Denver. It didn't happen. So there's certainly reasons that you could point to and say that the Colts are looking good this week. But again, I think there's just as many to say that the Chiefs need this one badly, and historically they have gotten the ones that they need badly. And if it keeps getting worse, then it's in unfamiliar territory for them for sure. And so you just don't pick it for them to go into unfamiliar territory. So I'm going to pick the Chiefs, and I'm going to stay along the lines of what they've done so far this year with with what's it called? With kind of the not close games. I think the Chiefs come out and they win this game. I'll give them 28-19. I'm going to make it a weird score. I just think that the Chiefs are going to be tough this week because they need to be. And Mahomes / Spagnuolo / Reed have won these games historically. And there's reasons that the Colts could win this game, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do at all. And I wouldn't be surprised if they score more points than that. But if you want to turn things around, which I think they need to do a little bit right now on protecting Daniel Jones and holding on to the ball, it's hard to do that against one of the best teams over the past 5 or 6 years. So maybe they're able to do that and rally the troops before they face the Texans the following week at home. But I'm going to go with the Chiefs this week. And, yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Chap, what do you think?
I'm going the other way around, and I've got Colts 30-23.
One score game. Another one score loss for the Chiefs.
Another make them 0-6, and I just think that these guys, the coaching staff, Sperano and Steichen, they're going to figure out this protection thing because it's a thing. And I was hesitant with the Colts when they went to LA twice with the Rams and the Chargers, and they should have won them both. And they laid, was it 38 on the Chargers?
Yep.
So they've got my attention there. And I think this offense is going to get back on track. I think JT will have a decent game, not a 240-yard game. But I do think it's going to make a difference that you can match up with these receivers with playing maybe 4 corners, maybe 5 corners. Maybe you take Nick Cross off a little bit and you bring another corner out there. But I do think Gardner and Ward and Kenny Moore give them a good chance, more than a puncher's chance, to limit what they can do in the passing game. I just think they find a way. They've convinced me they can do things on the road, Pittsburgh notwithstanding. So, yeah, I'm going to go Colts 30-23. And like you said, I won't be surprised if the desperate team wins. But I kind of like the way the Colts are playing.
Matt, what do you think?
Man, it's really tough when I ping-ponged this one both ways because, like both of you guys said, you're split on the picks. You can pick it either way this week. I mean, the Chiefs are not playing their best football. They've lost 2 in a row. Both of those were road games, so they're at home, so you think they'll probably play better at home. The Colts not playing their best football of the season either, really, coming off the Pittsburgh loss, and then Atlanta. They won that game in overtime, but it wasn't exactly a banner day for the Indianapolis Colts. They gave up a lot of sacks. They had some turnovers. And they gave up some stuff on defense that I didn't necessarily expect them to. Now, that said, I'm going to go ahead and go with the Colts this week. I'm going to go 31-27, mostly because not that it's nothing that Patrick Mahomes has never seen before, but with Sauce Gardner there and Mooney Ward there being healthy, the Colts have done very well on the offensive side of the ball as well when they've been on the road, even in the game that they lost against the Rams. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the Colts this week. I feel like it's a little bit out of a limb just because of the opponent. That is Kansas City. This is a good Chiefs team, regardless of the record. There is so much talent there. But coming off the bye week, I think the Colts are a little bit healthier. Hopefully they'll be able to kind of get some momentum and take that into the very, very important game next week against the Houston Texans.
One thing we didn't talk about, and we need to, with these close games, is we need to keep an eye on Michael Badgley. Shane Steichen says we got all the trust in the world, but they've missed 2 extra points. And tell me the last time you saw a 50-yard plus kick be short.
Yeah, usually it's wide.
Right. So I just saw Matt Gay was signed by the Niners. He been bounced around.
Yep.
But we just have to keep an eye to where there's a 52-yard kick that they've got to have into the game, into the half, whatever. And we're going to see Shane Steichen's trust level when it matters. So we need to keep an eye on Michael Badgley.
There was a reason Michael Badgley was available halfway through this NFL season.
And there's a reason that Matt Gay was available twice.
And there's a reason that Badgley was signed. It's because he made 2 50-yard field goals against the Steelers in a loss. But then he goes and turns around, and the other week you see
my fear is a kicking game
very different.
Might cost them, in the season, and that's what you don't want.
Well, you just hate to miss extra points because those should be gimmies, and then it just upsets the apple cart on the scoring distribution of the rest of the game.
Yeah. Michael Badgley certainly could be an X factor. I think one of the X factors that could sway it in the Colts' favor in this game and do not what I said is Laiatu Latu, because I think the absence of DeForest Buckner is important.
Huge. Yep.
Very important. As impressive, I think, as Adetomiwa Adebawore has been this year. He's certainly taken a step forward in his, I think, 3rd year now in the NFL. And Neville Gallimore has been fine as a backup defensive tackle. He's been better than Raekwon Davis because we've actually said his name a couple times in a good scenario.
Instead of that they signed him and then didn't.
And then they cut him.
Right.
Exactly. Or didn't re-sign him.
Right.
Exactly. So, or I think they did cut him actually.
Yes,
they did. So, you want to. That's what you want from your backup defensive tackles. You want to say their name in a positive light like 5 times throughout the year, and then never see them on the ground being stiff-armed by Derrick Henry. And that's what you ask from them, and they've gotten that from Gallimore. They've gotten that so far from Tommy, but they got so much more from Buckner, and so somebody needs to be able to get in Mahomes' face, and outside of Latu, I'm not sure who that is.
On the ground,
yeah, exactly. Like get him on the ground. Don't just get in his face. You're right. Upset him and annoy him and bang him around and make him uncomfortable.
And we'll see some blitzing to get that done.
That would be nice. Maybe Zaire Franklin's back there like he was in overtime. Making some great plays in overtime.
Cam Bynum with a blitz. So that's where Lou's got to be. You got to be creative now that you've got the corners, but then that you don't have Buck, so you have to find a way to fill that with not just the personnel, but with what your play calling is.
If the Colts can do that, they have a good shot. If the Colts can't do that, they have no shot at all. So, see how Mahomes is feeling and then that'll judge how the days go.
And if you
perhaps,
get him
for the
down,
Colts.
don't trash talk him.
Don't say any naughty words.
Yeah, just move on to the next play.
Lesson
Move
learned.
on to the next play. You know, some players are just they'll get the last word in. So just get in his face, get him down, and do your thing on offense.
We do appreciate you listening to the Colts Blue Zone podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Colts Blue Zone. Also subscribe, get us delivered to your podcast listening device as soon as we drop every week. Available on Fox 59 now, our CTV app. Available on YouTube as well. So check us out there if you want to actually watch us, if you're only listening to us right now. But Matt Adams is at Statamatty on Twitter. Mike Chappell is at MChappell51. I'm Dave Griffiths. Excuse me, as I almost coughed myself. I'm holding it in at Dave G _sports, and we'll see you next week on the Colts Blue Zone podcast.